So we're back on Love Your Channel. This is where we talk to YouTubers, get to know something about them, their channels, and get their tips, advice, and insights that you can use to start or grow your own channel. Okay, so I'm super grateful for everybody who joins me here on Love Your Channel. Excited to talk to everybody, but I will admit that I like to talk about sports. And that's the case today, specifically ice hockey. Now, YouTube knows that I like ice hockey because YouTube knows everything. And recently I was recommended a channel that was new to me. I checked it out and I could immediately see that this was a channel for me. Interesting commentary, great storytelling, a cool mini documentary style presentation. It checked all the boxes. I was all in within minutes. And I was very excited to reach out to the creator behind the channel, see if he would talk to me about how he does it. And pleased to announce that he's agreed to come and talk to me about the intersection of YouTube and ice hockey. Yes, there is such a thing. His name is Zack. The channel is Hectic Hockey. And before we go any further, let's say hello to Zack. Zack, thanks for joining me here on Love Your Channel.
Thank you for having me, John. I'm very excited to do this.
Okay, everybody gets the same first question. Let's say you meet somebody who learns that you have a YouTube channel. They ask you what it's all about. How do you answer?
I tell them that it's a commentary channel and I cover everything hockey from the NHL to junior leagues to, I guess now it's the Olympics. So if you're a hockey fan, I recommend, and if you care about what I have to say, I recommend taking a look at my videos.
So Zack, tell me something a little more about yourself, what you're all about, what keeps you busy when you're not thinking about hockey, making videos about hockey and so on.
Well, it's very rare that I'm not thinking about hockey, but I am a college student. I'm a junior, so I have that to keep me busy. I have roommates. I have my friends to keep me busy. I play in a beer league in my off time, so I get on the ice about once or twice a week. So very little to do with my life that isn't hockey, but yeah, I'm not too busy.
Yeah, great name, Beer League. I love that, Beer League, fantastic. Yeah, I was going to ask, what was your kind of point of entry into the passion for hockey as a fan, as a player? But you say you're on the ice, you're suiting up, and you're on the skates yourself, yeah?
Yeah, I've been skating since I was about 8 years old. I hated my first year of hockey, but my dad forced me to give it another try, and I fell in love with it, and I've been playing ever since. Whether it's high school or like a mite league or now in college, I've always played. I've always enjoyed it, and I've always been a fan of the game, more so than I feel like other people. So.
You know, as you and I are recording today, we just started in the knockout stages of the Olympics ice hockey, which is, big news in the world of hockey. Let's see, earlier today, Slovakia eliminated Germany, and the Czechs and the Canadians are about to get started. So I guess you and I are both running to the television after we finish here, yeah?
100%. I can't wait to see it. Obviously, I'm a USA fan, so their game's a little bit later, and we have a tough matchup with Sweden. So I'll definitely be
Absolutely.
glued to the TV for that one.
Yeah, at this point, anybody can win. So no guaranteed wins at this stage, yeah. Okay, so Zack, I got a few questions for you so we can learn a little bit more about you and what you're all about before we dive into your channel. This is called the rapid fire round, okay? So I've got a few questions for you here. Like I said, I want to cover a lot of ground fairly quickly, so I need short or short-ish answers from you, okay? So, Zack, are you ready for rapid fire?
I hope so.
You don't sound very confident, Zack. Wow. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, let's drop the puck on rapid fire here. Okay, so for these first two questions, Zack, I'm gonna allow an answer of no comment because I understand if you want to maintain some neutrality for your subscribers. And so first two questions, I'll accept that answer. Okay. So first question, favorite NHL team or teams?
The New York Rangers.
Okay. Any teams you love to hate?
Anyone that beats the Rangers or the Islanders or the Devils, not a fan.
Okay. Anyone that beats the Rangers? Well, in
It's a
some
lot of teams
seasons, that's
nowadays.
pretty much everybody is. Okay. Well, all right. Well,
Yeah.
another topic. Best and or worst uniforms in the NHL?
I love the Chicago Blackhawks uniforms. I love the Rangers uniforms, obviously. Um, Maybe I'm biased. I don't like the Islanders jerseys.
Do the Rangers still have that? A few seasons ago, maybe more than a few seasons ago, they had a very cool. I think they called it like third jersey. There's a Statue of Liberty thing. Sometimes some cool variations. Do they still have anything like that, or is that done?
Not right now, but yeah, you're right. A few years ago, they did what's called a reverse retro, and it was the Lady Liberty on their chest. That's
Nice,
a great jersey.
nice. Have you ever thrown a hat on the ice?
I haven't. I have been to a Rangers game where I think Derek Brassard scored a hat trick a few years ago, but I didn't have a hat to throw on the ice, and if I did, I think I'd want to keep it. But
Yeah, I've always wondered what it's like to. I mean, these hats aren't cheap. Let's be honest. And on top of that, to be within throwing distance of the ice, you have to spend a lot of money these days to be that close. And so the fact that you have not thrown a hat on the ice does not at all reflect on your status as a serious hockey fan. So that's okay. Best hockey movie of all time, Slapshot or Slapshot?
I'm gonna disagree. I'm going Miracle. I have to go
Oh, Zach.
Miracle. I
Oh,
have
Zach.
to,
Uh-oh.
especially now
Uh-oh.
with the Olympics going on. I think I have to go Miracle.
Okay, the conversation just took a turn, Zach, because okay, Miracle, okay, fine. But the first 10 choices on the list should be Slapshot. So please work on that, Zach. Please work on that. More exciting, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals or the Olympic gold medal match?
Oh man.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, I was at the Four Nations final last year between USA and
Really?
Canada, and
Nice.
that was an unbelievable experience. But I think if my team was in game seven of the Stanley Cup Finals, I think that would be a little bit more exciting for me.
By a small margin, I would agree. By a small margin, I would agree. So a team from Florida has been in the Stanley Cup final for each of the last 6 seasons. Is this a sign that the game is in good health, or is it a sign of the apocalypse?
I think it's good for hockey. I think it's getting more fans engaged. Even the Winter Classic this year was in Miami, Florida, between the Florida Panthers and the Rangers. So I think it's really good for hockey. I'd like to see someone else win the Stanley Cup besides the Panthers this year, but I think overall it's good for the game.
Yeah, I'm a Florida man myself, and so I'm happy about it. But I do meet plenty of people who just, the Canadians, think it's like sacrilege, but oh well, this is how it is. So the NHL consistently ranks behind the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball when it comes to television viewership numbers. Is this a sign that the NHL makes bad choices, or is it a sign that the viewing public makes bad choices?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think hockey is the most exciting sport you can watch. But I think the NHL makes some bad marketing decisions and some bad decisions with their content and things like that.
Yeah, it seems that they are permanently stuck in fourth place, and I don't know if there's any way out of this, unfortunately, but that's how it is. Gary Bettman, the much loved commissioner of the NHL. Let's say he turns over the keys to you for 24 hours. Commissioner Zack, you can do whatever you want. What changes, if any, do you make?
Um, well, I'd love to put a team back in Quebec. I'd love to see the Nordiques come back. Maybe more up my alley. I'd allow for more content creators to express their love of the game. That's kind of hard for us nowadays. But yeah, I think I'd make the game a little bit more accessible to a lot more people.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that a little later. I've read that the NHL is like, for some reason, hates people who use their footage in YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a thing, but I'll come back to that later. But yeah, good that you mentioned that. Okay, last question, Zach. If you had to start a totally new YouTube channel tomorrow, you can't talk about hockey, you can't talk about sports, what would the channel be about?
Um, I've always liked cooking. Maybe I can go the cooking route or even geography. I feel like I'm a big fan of geography, learning about geography. So
Interesting. Interesting. Was
either
not
of those
expecting
two,
that.
I might be able to find some
Yeah.
success.
Well done. Well done. Okay, Zach, congratulations. You have successfully completed rapid fire. Good job. Good job. Good job. Okay, let's turn to your channel, Hectic Hockey. So you started about 3 years ago. Go back to that time and tell me about the process that led you to say, okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel about ice hockey.
Well, I'll go back even further to December of 2017 when I was about 12 years old. I started an Instagram account called hectic.hky because that's what all the accounts did. They shortened hockey to HKY. So it was hectic .hky, and I posted like edits of players to music. And I did that for a while. I did that up until I started my YouTube channel. I got like 3,000 followers on there. I'd post every few days, met a lot of cool people. Um, and then I just got kind of bored of it because I was doing the same thing every day. I was just sitting down making 30-second videos. And then at that point, the Instagram editing scene was kind of dying out. Not many new creators were coming about. A lot of the old creators were quitting. I guess me included, I quit. And then I turned to YouTube and did sort of a more long form highlight package. So I'd do what I was doing on Instagram, but just post the raw clips, no music, and just highlights of players. And a lot of those videos are not public on my channel because I did that for so long and I went under the radar of the NHL where I was monetized, making money off of it. And then they hit me with a big copyright claim on my channel, and pretty much every single video I ever made was demonetized. Um, so I kind of had to pivot, and I pivoted to voiceover, and I guess that's where I've been ever since. So I guess it was sort of a blessing in disguise because I like where I'm at now. But yeah, it goes back further than what you see the first video on my channel.
It's interesting because what you just said about again, the NHL and their obsession with, not letting people use footage and doing voiceover, that segues perfectly into what I was going to ask next. And you've kind of started on the answer already, because your channel, Hector, is a faceless channel. And by the way, I really don't like this name, Faceless Channel, because it suggests that you're doing something wrong, like something is missing. But that's the term for it, Faceless Channel, where the creator is just a narrator, basically. You don't appear on camera. And so I was going to ask, was that a conscious decision from the start, or how did that come about? But it sounds like, as I said, you started answering it already. It sounds like it was kind of taken out of your hands. If things had been different, do you think you would be on camera, or what can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, the route I went, so like I said, I started on Instagram, never showed my face there, and then I went to YouTube, and I had no reason to show my face because it was just highlights. People watching highlights don't need to know who's making the highlights. Um, and then by the time I got to voiceovers, I was still very like shy about being on camera, and at the time I was a senior in high school. I was 17 years old. I didn't want my face out there for all of YouTube to see. But then I started picking up steam, and I figured, there's no reason for me to show my face just yet. This is actually my first time my face has ever been on camera on YouTube. So, yeah, I've never found a need for it. So I've kind of kept it faceless.
So, Zach, this is your world debut here on Love Your Channel, your
It's
world
my face
debut.
reveal. Yeah.
Nice, nice one, nice one. So it sounds like a combination of circumstance and just the way it worked out. And it was just you found your niche, and so why change things, basically, yeah? Well, now, 3 years later, roughly 3 years later into the Faceless Channel, what have you learned, or what can you tell us about maybe the pros and cons of a Faceless Channel?
Um, well, the pros, I feel like I'm definitely a little bit more confident when I'm speaking. I feel like if I was doing my voiceovers with the camera in my face, I'd be a little bit more shy. Also, a lot of the time I edit and record late at night, which I guess is a small thing. If I had to show my face, I'd make that change. But a lot of the time I'm recording late at night, so I'm in a dark room, or I don't want to wake my family up or something like that. So it's kind of easy to just sit at my desk with my microphone in my hand and read my script off my computer screen, not have to look into a camera or anything like that. So I guess those are the pros, but there are some cons. I feel like over the summer I actually lost out on a brand deal because they were valuing creators with their face because they think it connected to the audience better. And that at the time that wasn't really a change that I was willing to make, so I had to turn it down. And also I think having your face creates sort of a connection with the audience, some familiarity. If someone watches one of your videos, doesn't subscribe, goes on throughout their day, and then sees another video a week later, and it's the same face, it kind of creates a connection with the audience, and it sort of feels real. And like you said, sometimes with the faceless creators, it just feels like, you're just watching a video with some narrator in the background, but having a face to connect to the voice, to connect to the content kind of meshes everything together. And I feel like probably creates a better experience for the viewer.
Yeah, I can see where that would be an issue. Just theoretically, somebody could land on one of your videos, enjoy it, and then later YouTube could put another one of your videos in the recommendation feed, and they wouldn't necessarily recognize it as being from the same one, the same creator that they enjoyed earlier, because they have no visual cue to kind of connect them. So yeah, I can see that as a downside. I can also see, just going back to the cons, like you said, recording late at night and appearing on camera would add another layer, technical layer, let's say practical layer of complication to the thing. And so, yeah, pros and cons for sure. And the branding deal, it makes sense, I guess. The sponsors kind of, I imagine they have data or something to back up their decision. They want do we call it a face channel? A faceless is the without a channel, the with face. What's the name for that? I don't know. What is the name for that? I'll have to look it up. I'm not sure. Um, Speaking of the early days of your channel, okay, I got to ask you about this. I've never seen a situation like this before. Usually, creators start with their first video and it's a slow build. Your first video, very first video on your YouTube channel has 2 million views and counting. It's going to go up. How did you get 2 million views on your first video? Did it blow up immediately, or is it because that it's been online for 3 years now? It's a slow build. Do we have Connor McDavid to thank for this? What's going on here?
Well, like I said, I do have to admit, that wasn't my very first video. Like I said, I went back and I took down a bunch of my old videos after I got hit with the demonetization. But I mean, that video had so many views, so I just kept it up because it kept bringing in new people. Like if I kept up every single other video I made, it'd kind of feel like it would mess with my channel, and I would have more people watching demonetized content than monetized. But that video just had so many views that I felt like I had to keep it up. And going back to how it got 2 million views, I think it was just the perfect storm of people like watching highlights, especially shootouts. I feel like shootouts are they're very popular, like highlight package. Like people go back, they watch Patrick Kane shootout, they watch Pavel Datsuk shootout. And Connor McDavid, he's known for probably everything but his shootouts. He's not known for that, but he does have some pretty nice shootout goals. So I figured I'd make a compilation of him. So I think it was a combination of not much of his shootouts are online. It's Connor McDavid, the most popular player in hockey. And it was short. It was like, it's 4.5 minutes, I think. So it's easy
Yeah,
to
that's
digest.
another thing that's
simple.
another thing I was gonna point out. I think it's the second shortest video. I think you have one just under 4 minutes. This one's just over 4 minutes. And so the combination of being that short, which again, YouTube, I don't know if this is a theory or not, but YouTube tends to favor longer videos because they can pack more advertisers. So a 4-minute video has something working against it. But despite all that, it still gets this many views. And so you say it's not the oldest video, but it's the oldest one we can see on your channel today because it survived the purge, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I figured I'd keep it up, and it still gets views to this day. And I think I just checked before this. In the past month, it's gotten like 65,000 views. So as long as it keeps bringing new people to my channel, I'll leave it up.
Of course, why not? Why not? Your channel is interesting because it's a cool mix of what's happening now in the game, trends, current topics, and so on, and evergreen big picture stories about important events from the past, like mini documentaries or video essays on certain larger topics in hockey. How do you decide what makes a good topic for a video?
Well, in season, it's pretty easy. I look around at what's going around around the league. If a player's having a good month, or a rookie's doing well, or this team's off to a good start, I base it off of the current news. But when the off season hits, that's usually when I focus on my evergreen content, because not much is happening between July and beginning of September for hockey. So there's not much to make. So that's where I kind of focus in on my evergreen content. And that's actually my most popular video on my channel is an evergreen video that I posted, I think, middle of July.
About Patrick
So
Waugh, that one?
yeah, it's the Patrick Waugh video. I think it has upwards of 2.5 million views right now, and it still gets the most views on my channel every single day. And for those videos, I just get the ideas. I go back in time and look at the most popular moments in NHL history, or even some niche ones that people might not know about. And I think that Patrick Waugh one's maybe a lot of the diehard hockey fans know about it. But I think a lot of the casual players, or casual fans, they might know who Patrick Waugh is, but they might not know the whole story. And I think the title grabs your eye. It's like when Patrick Waugh traded himself in the middle of a game. Might be a little bit clickbaity since he didn't trade himself in the middle of the game, but
Close enough.
yeah,
Close enough. I'm
yeah.
never playing for you again. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Since you mentioned it, you said in the off season, hockey off season, it creates issues for content ideas because there's nothing going on. I'm curious, does that also mean maybe a drop off in views as well? Do the views kind of coincide with the activity in the season or not so much?
I would say the views are definitely better during the season. They're very good around the playoffs, and then they kind of slowly dip off in the off season and then pick back up around October. But I don't see that big of a drop off because I think if you're a hockey fan and you watch hockey content on YouTube, and I post hockey content, you're going to watch the hockey content. So maybe lose some of the casual viewers that don't really care about hockey in the off season. But I think that's why I switched to evergreen content in the summer, because maybe there's not too much news or people don't care about the little news over the off season. But if I post a big story of that happened like 30 years ago or 25 years ago, a moment that people like to watch or like to relive, I think I have a better chance of getting viewers over the summer rather than posting about roster moves.
Speaking of views, it seems like you have quite a few videos that have just blown up, great numbers. And then with the very next video, things come back down to earth, which is kind of typical of channels. This happens everywhere. What are your thoughts on this? That sometimes it seems that you've unlocked something in the YouTube secret sauce, but it seems difficult, maybe impossible to keep that momentum going forward. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think that too. Whenever I have a video that does really well, I'm like, okay, I figured it out. And then the next video, it brings me back down to earth. But I think I'm not a news reporter, but I'm sort of in the news space when it comes to current topics. And I think that's just how it is. One topic might be a lot more popular to a lot more people. And if I'm one of the first people to get a story out on that or a video out on that, people are going to watch my video. But then if it's a video that on a topic that, isn't as big or it's a little bit more niche, it might not bring the same viewership, I'm trying to like Connor Bedard had a great start to the season and he's a very popular player. I posted a video and it got like 150,000 views or something like that. And I posted one on Matthew Schaefer, who's a very exciting rookie. He was a big talk of the season early on. Posted a video and it got a lot of views. And then, I posted another video and it might not hit the same because it's not a popular player, not a popular topic. So yeah, I think it really depends on what's going on around the league and how I could capitalize on some of that big news.
How do you kind of balance uh, chasing the views with maybe topics that you're pretty sure are going to hit a bullseye with what you really want to talk about, things that are of particular interest to you? How do you kind of find a middle ground that satisfies both sides of being a creator on YouTube?
Well, yeah, like you said, I love hitting those big topics. But I feel like there's not a lot of those that are surefire gonna get a lot of views. And when there is one, I'm sure to make a video on it. But then outside of that, I just kind of look around the league and try and find interesting stats or pieces of data that people might not know about, and I try to make that video as interesting as possible. So if someone sees like, oh, he made a video on, I don't know, Nikita Kucherov and he's been kind of quiet in the early part of the season, why'd he make a video on it? I hope to make that as interesting as possible to keep keep the viewer and try and make up for the fact that it's not a huge story, but it's still a good video and it packs good information.
I want to get your view on YouTube Shorts, which is something I've been speaking with a lot of creators about recently. So right now, as we're talking today, you have 199 videos, about to hit 200. Congratulations, by the way. 199 videos on your channel. About 2/3 are long form, about 1/3 are shorts. What has been your experience with shorts, and what's your view on whether or not they drive long-term engagement?
Um, I've just recently started posting shorts again. Um, I can thank my mom for that. She's sort of my manager when it comes to this stuff. She's really interested in all the data, and she's a big shorts believer. So whenever I post a long form video, she's like, make some shorts out of that. So that's pretty much where my shorts come from. They're just my long form videos cut up, and I know I do a little bit of extra editing, but it's not too much work, so it's kind of easy to get those up. And for me, I think they do drive some subscribers. Even if the video just gets, 15,000, 20,000 views and brings in 20 subscribers, if I post a 10-minute video and break that up into, 6 shorts, it's going to add up over time, especially if I'm posting weekly. That's like, I don't know, that's probably an extra 500 subscribers right there just from shorts. So I think in my experience, it has helped out, especially since I'm cutting up my long form content into shorts. I'm not making shorts out of my long form content. It's just my long form content cut up. So people see that, and then they might get recommended one of my long form videos, and they might enjoy it because it's pretty much just a longer version of the short that they just watched. So I think for me, it's different than normal people who make dedicated shorts. So yeah, I think I've enjoyed what they've done for my channel. I think it's beneficial.
So right now you have no plans to make dedicated short form videos.
No, I think I found a good rhythm with just posting my long form videos into shorts. Because for me, if I'm making, I don't really want to put the time into making a short script and then editing the short when I could be, making a long form video.
You have quite a few videos where the watch numbers seem to be way out of proportion to your subscriber numbers. In other words, a lot of people are watching who are not subscribers. And I'm curious, how do you interpret why this happens? Do you think there are just limits to what you can do as a creator to get people to subscribe, or why the gap between viewership and subscribers?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'd love to have all 2 million people who watched my Patrick Wall video subscribe to me, but I don't know. I think this might go back to the fact that I am a faceless channel, so the familiarity isn't there. They might just watch one video and kind of forget, as opposed to watching a video and seeing my face and then seeing another video and be like, oh, it's this guy. I like him. I'll subscribe. And then there's not many big hockey channels. There's a handful, but so they might just watch hockey content, not subscribe to those creators, and there's just a lot of content to digest. So I really wish I knew the secret to getting subscribers out of all my views, but it just doesn't seem to work that way.
Let's circle back to what we were talking about earlier with the NHL throwing content strikes at everybody. With your format, of course, you're totally dependent on footage from somewhere, and even so-called normal channels. Again, I hate this faceless name, but whatever you call the other kind of channel, they need B-roll too. They need footage as well. So with the current restrictions, the current environment for this, where are you getting your footage, and how careful do you have to be about choosing the wrong footage?
So I do just get all my footage from YouTube, from game highlights or interview packages and stuff like that. And I try, when I'm editing, I try to keep the clips short enough to where, the NHL won't look at it and be like, all right, you're just completely ripping us off. So I try and keep clips usually under 10 seconds. And a lot of the time I don't use game audio in my videos, but sometimes I do, like when it's an exciting goal and I want to get the commentator in there. And then that has to be very short, because then the NHL looks at that and it's like, okay, you're taking our footage, you're taking our audio. I'm going to throw a copyright strike on you. So it's a really weird game to play, because I have to upload my video a few hours before I actually want to upload it. I uploaded it as unlisted just to see if it passes the initial copyright check. And then if it does, I'm good to go. But a lot of the time I have to take the video down, rework some segments, shorten up the clips, maybe put pictures in there, put my own graphics in there. Yeah, and then it's a really weird game to play with the NHL, because you never know what they'll let slide and what they'll get you on.
So do you feel like you have a sense for where that line is, or does it just seem completely random sometimes?
I feel like over the past year, I've gotten a little bit better at it. Um, if you go back to about last January, there's big drama in the hockey YouTube space where the NHL was just instantly striking any video that used any of their footage. And that went on for a while, and that was really frustrating because you would just upload a video and you thought would be good, and then they'd just strike it. That kind of chilled out a little bit, but it's still very frustrating because I know other sports leagues. I know the NBA, they welcome this. They have creator like video packages that you can download and make videos out, and they welcome that sort of stuff. But the NHL, they're 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 stuck in the old days, I guess, and they don't like these creators making videos, which beats me. But I think over the past year I've figured them out. I'm having to do a little bit less extra editing when I upload videos. So, I mean, cross my fingers they don't do another strike frenzy like they did last year. But recently it's been going okay.
Yeah, in today's world of social media and sharing this and that, I just I struggle to see the NHL's perspective on this. I just don't know what they're thinking when it comes to, building this wall around everything that's theirs. I just don't get it. As you said, the NBA is like, hey, yeah, please take it, do what you want, go ahead. And I imagine the NFL and Major League Baseball have their own policies, but I imagine they're creator friendly, or certainly friendlier than the NHL. But just as a side note, can you see their point of view on this? How does the NHL explain it, like internally? Like, we don't want people to share this. What are they? Do you think they're losing monetarily on this, or what's the thinking here?
I mean, us YouTube creators, we're such a small drop in the ocean for the NHL. Um, like on a good month, I'll get what 2 million views on my channel, and that's really just a small drop when you look at the NHL's viewership. So I really don't see how creators are stealing money from them. If anything, we're making them money because we promote their game so much. I've gotten so many comments on my videos being like, I've never watched hockey. This is my first time, watching, and I keep coming back to this channel because I like to know more about it, or I've never gave hockey the chance, but I like this channel. I like the videos. I'll start watching games. So I know personally that I've created hockey fans and I've created viewership for the NHL. So I really don't see the harm in us posting. But I guess they see it differently, which I don't know. I'll never understand the way they see it. But
I just don't get it. How does the NHL lose by, again, people like you creating new fans for the game? I just I don't know. Speaking of editing, going back to how you put everything together, tell us about the software you use, and how long does the whole process take from start to finish?
yeah, so going back to my Instagram days, I would edit on my phone on iMovie. And when that started getting a little bit difficult, saving clips on my phone, the storage was getting a lot. Editing with my fingers wasn't the best. Then I think it was my 16th, no, maybe my 15th birthday. I asked my parents for Adobe Premiere Pro. And then that's when I made the switch to Premiere Pro. And ever since then, I've used Premiere Pro. I use all the Adobe products. I use Adobe Audition for my voiceovers. I use Premiere Pro. I sometimes use After Effects. So I've been Premiere Pro now for probably 5 years, and I've gotten the hang of it. And when it comes to how long it takes, writing a script takes anywhere from, I don't know, 2 to 4 hours, depending on how much research I have to do and how long I want the script to be. The voiceover is quick. I try and get it done within 30 minutes. And then the editing portion, if it's like an 8 minute video, it might take me 5, 6 hours. And this is depending on how much editing I want to do, how detailed I want to be with my editing. If it's a quick video where I'm just showing highlights, it takes a lot shorter. But if it's a long video where I'm going into stats and going back in time, looking at older things about this player and their stats throughout the years, I have to create a lot of graphics. I have to sort of be more intentional with my video editing, and that's when it starts to take a while. But editing has always been something I enjoyed because going back to the Instagram days, that's all I did. There was no voiceover, there's no script writing. It was just strictly editing, and that's sort of what got me into YouTube in the first place. Voiceover and script writing is just sort of what came with it. So editing's always been my favorite part of it. So I don't really care how long it takes because I do enjoy it. So
Well, that's part of what I like about your content, is that a lot of it is it's very, what's the word? It's very information dense in places, and that has a kind of a snowball effect on your editing process, because you have to create visuals to support, like you said, the stats or whatever information you're adding. You need some kind of visuals to support those. And so the more information you add, the more editing time you have to spend. And it seems that, well, you said yourself that you enjoy the process, you like it. And I think it shows when you watch your content. It shows that, you're not someone who's just rushing to meet a deadline because, you publish every Monday, no matter what, for example. It's, for you, it's ready when it's ready. And when it's done, you're going to be happy with it. And that's the way you want it. Um, yeah, more of a observation than a question, but just pretend there was a question there, Zach, and run with it. Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I've always enjoyed editing, and I appreciate you saying that. that means I'm doing something right. But yeah, there was a lot of times where I'd make a whole video and then I'd go back and rewatch it. And I'm like, I don't really like how I portrayed this part, or I don't like how I put this part together, and I'd go back and change it until I'm happy with it. So I do want to post as frequently as possible, but if I don't like the final product, I'll take the extra time to try and make it a good product.
How long was it before, going back to the earlier days, how long was it before you were satisfied that the channel had traction, you had an audience, building an audience, and did you ever face, maybe not burnout exactly, maybe that's too strong, but did you ever question that, you question the progress you were making, or progress maybe you weren't making?
So I was lucky enough to get a very hot start on YouTube. Going back to when I was just posting strictly the highlight packages, um, I was getting a lot of subscribers because I was a new channel posting highlights pretty much every day because they were really easy to make. So I think that beginning traction sort of kept me in for the long haul because I kind of saw what YouTube could be for me with the money and the subscribers and the recognition. And then when the NHL came and, put a strike on my whole channel and took down a lot of my videos, that was really demotivating. I would go months at a time without posting, weeks at a time without posting. And that was kind of hard to come back from. Um, but then I went back to the early days and I'm like, okay, I know what this can be, and I'm not going to give up on this because, you know, I don't know about every little kid, but for me, being a YouTuber is like the dream. So I was like, okay, this could be somewhat of a reality, so I'm not going to give up on it just yet. So when I started voiceovering, it was a bit slow because I didn't really know what I was doing. And then a year from my first voiceover, I was kind of getting the hang of it, and it was just something I did, whether it did well or did poorly. Making YouTube videos was just something I did. And then just recently, it kind of became more than that. It kind of became a job almost. And it's something that I have to do. Not that I don't enjoy it anymore, but it is more of a priority than it used to be. So yeah, it's sort of been in the probably this summer, going back to this year's NHL playoffs, the 2025 playoffs, is when I sort of realized that I got to take it a little bit more seriously.
How long was it before your channel got monetized?
I got monetized probably in the first 2 months. Because when I started posting those highlight packages, I was getting like 100 subscribers every day. So I hit the 1,000. I hit the 1,000 subscribers probably in my first 2 weeks of posting. And then I just had to get the watch hours, and I forget what other qualification they had at the time, but I hit those pretty quickly, and I was monetized by probably my second month. Um, and then I was making pretty substantial money for a 17-year-old high school student, and I thought I was on top of the world until I did get hit with the strike. But I think that's what kept me going. If I didn't get such a hot start, and I only amassed like 200 subscribers and I wasn't monetized, and then the NHL took my channel down, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. So I'm lucky with my hot start and that I got monetized so quickly, because I think that kept me around for the long haul.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about what the NHL is thinking. I mean, I think you took exactly $0 out of their pocket. Zero, like precisely zero. and yet, and yet they took this action against you. Bizarre. Um, is there such a thing as a shortcut or a hack to YouTube success, or do you think you just have to grind it out?
I think I got very lucky. Um, with my Instagram stuff, I sort of had a feel for content, and I was always watching YouTube. So I think I sort of had a feel for content. So maybe it came a little bit more naturally to me. I sort of knew what people wanted to see. Um, but I think if I could have, if there was one fast track to success, it's consistency. Because, and I'm sure everyone says that, but in those early days when I was just getting monetized, I was posting every single day, sometimes even twice a day. And I think that's why I saw so much success. Because people liked the nonstop content. Obviously since then I've slowed down because it's pretty difficult to do voiceovers every day, but I think just consistency is the fast track. It might not be a fast track, but that's definitely the track to success. Just being consistent. And if you're passionate about it and you're consistent about it and you're intentional about it, I think you'll find success one way or another.
So apart from any financial considerations, you know, thinking about all the work involved, the time, the commitment. Again, put the money aside for a moment. What keeps you coming back to YouTube? Where does the motivation come from to start on that next video?
I love the community. Like I said, there's not too many hockey creators out there, but the ones that are, I do speak to frequently. A big one being Hockey Psychology. He's probably the top dog when it comes to hockey content. So me and him talk sometimes about, content strategies, or a lot of the times it's talking about the copyright issues. I just recently talked to him about how the Olympics are handling content, which is bad news for us since they don't allow any footage. So we'll see how my next video goes with just pictures and graphics. And then another one's Big Head Hockey. I talked to him a little bit. He's around my size of a channel, and we sort of make a little bit similar content. So I think that's what keeps me coming back. And obviously all the viewers. If I wasn't making any money and I was still at the point I was, I think I'd still continue, because one, it could lead to something else. But I just love seeing the community come together. I love talking hockey. So to have a community to talk hockey with and having such a large viewership, I'm really grateful for that. And I'd be stupid to give it up. And like introducing new people to hockey and stuff like that. I think it's awesome to see those comments where it's like, I've never watched hockey, but this was a really entertaining video or something like that. So I think overall it's the community that keeps me going.
Okay, Zach, looking to the future of the channel going forward, any particular goals for the channel in terms of new content angles or some different direction? How do you see the channel a year from now, for example?
Um, a year from now, I hope to be still posting. I know I'm going to be in my senior year of college. It's going to get more difficult, but I think I've found a good work-life balance. Um, I think a big goal of mine is to hit 100,000 subscribers. I think having a plaque that said Hectic Hockey that would literally be a dream come true. I don't know if I'll ever hit 1 million. That seems far-fetched. Who knows? But 100K, I know I can do if I stick to what's working. So I think that's the big goal. And I think another goal is sort of monetarily, if I can, survive on my own off of YouTube for a little bit. I'm 20 years old. I'm sure I won't be doing YouTube when I'm 30 years old. But if I can survive a little bit while I get my feet on the ground after graduation, I think that would be a good goal too. So I think two main goals is, be able to live off YouTube and hit 100,000 subscribers.
So let's finish up with any tips and advice you can share with people who are just starting a channel, trying to grow a channel. You've got about 60K subs as we're talking today. You're going to hit 100. I know you will. Almost 20 million views in the history of the channel. You are definitely qualified to speak on this. And so what would you say to anyone, again, thinking about starting or trying to grow a channel?
I think, like I said, consistency, but I think it's got to be consistency in something you're passionate about. If you're just picking a niche that's popular and you think it'll get views, but you're not really that into it, you're just doing it for the money, you're not going to find success, because viewers might not know it, but they can tell when you're not into the topic. For me, hockey's been my whole life for the past decade and a half. So one, I think I'm a little bit qualified to talk about it. And two, I love talking about it. And I think viewers know that, and it keeps them coming back. But for creators that just want to, get to success quickly on whatever niche it is, I think that's the wrong intentions. I think you have to go into this saying, hey, there's this thing, I love talking about it, and I want to share it with the world, and I want to talk with other people about it. So I think that's the number one thing, is you find a niche that you're passionate about, you stay consistent with it, and viewers will see that, and the success will show.
So if you're a hockey fan, it goes without saying that you need to check out Hectic Hockey today. If you're a sports fan and you just like good storytelling and compelling narratives, you have to check out Hectic Hockey. If you want a great example of how a faceless channel can be a successful channel, no matter what you're talking about, ice hockey or anything else, check out Hectic Hockey. Link in the description below, of course. Zach, thanks for joining me. I look forward to getting my hockey fix from your channel from now on. And right now, I'm going to make you promise when you do hit that 100K, you're going to come back here and tell us how you did it, okay?
Of course. Thank you. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Zach. Thanks for watching, everybody. While you're here, check out one of these videos. I think it looks like this, I think on the screen, something like that. Please like and subscribe. All the usual things. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Love Your Channel.